Okay, so we're still working on the 450 here, and it's another day. I rode it yesterday a little bit, and I actually got it to, I got it pre-warm, and I was able to get it to duplicate kind of a hanging idle at about 3,000 RPM. It didn't climb from there. It was still consistent. It's the only time it's done it so far. Otherwise, it's been idling really well. So I'm going to go ahead. I've done another cold compression check to baseline for today. I'm going to go ahead, get it started, and then go ride it around for a while and see if I can get it again to mess up. Then I'll bring it home. We'll do another compression check, see if it's consistent. Starting to break up a little bit. The idle is still low, but it had a couple times where it started to fluctuate. You can hear right there it's cutting out a little bit. I don't know if that's an ignition issue or what. Here. Now, because I like this job, took that bike out, and it's like 90 something outside, but I think we have our first clue. So before I took it out, I did a cold compression check. All right, I've also checked the plugs every time I pulled them. Cold compression check, left cylinder 135, and then the right cylinder 140. Not a big discrepancy, still cold. All right, took it for a ride, and then as you saw, the bike, there was a distinct moment when all of a sudden it kind of just started to break up a little bit as I was trying to accelerate. And then it wasn't a high idle, but it would wander like a little bit between 2,000 and 3,000 RPM. You know, it would come back down and then it would go back up. Anyway, so I kept riding it, and then it started to get noticeably worse. So I brought it back home, and then it was still idling low actually. So I can't get it to idle high, but I went ahead and I just did a hot compression check. Both cylinders 149 on the nose, which is really good. And then I noticed as I pulled the right spark plug, it was completely fouled. Now, if it was a jetting issue, you would see a similar result on the left cylinder. Like, let's say it was just running rich and you're just fouling both plugs equally, or if it was lean. Now, every time I've pulled the plugs, they have been consistent left to right, and they've both been okay. But this time, the right one was fouled. So I'm starting to suspect that maybe the right coil might be going bad, and that is, adding to our issue here. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna bring the bike in, get it up on the table. I might have to end up pulling the tank and stuff on this to get access to test the coils the right way. But we're gonna get the book. We're gonna see what the parameters should be, and we're gonna go ahead and test them, because this is one item. The coils that are original to the bike that I've never upgraded throughout the build. So they are, what's 1981? I mean, that's like 40 years old. So we're gonna go ahead and check those, and I'm actually hoping that one of them fails. So yeah, but I should probably get on it sooner than later, because maybe only when it's hot will it fail, due to the heat. So anyway, I'm gonna get on it now. Make it a little quieter in here so you can hear me. Okay, so I've been doing some checks in here and trying to diagnose maybe a bad coil, but unfortunately, after I brought this thing back and it was messing up on me, by the time I brought it back to the time I tested it, I'd got a couple phone calls and a couple people stopped by. I got busy, so I was unable to test that right coil whenever it was really hot, because right now it tests within spec. Now I've actually had on a previous Scrambler I had a set of brand new Dyna coils, not cheap coils, brand new Dyna coils out of the box, and one of them was bad. And that thing, you would run the bike, at about 5 minutes, it would just, boom, just drop the left cylinder. And it was like, you can test everything and everything will test good, but it was, I confirmed it with Dyna and ended up having a bad coil. So what you would normally want to do in this instance is try to move the problem. So the bike right now, it fouled the right plug. So what I would want to do is try to move the issue so it would foul the left plug, meaning I would swap the leads left to right and switch coils per side. Now unfortunately this one has more of a unswappable coil setup. You can't really, unless you're going to rewire some of these, you can't really switch these terminals out. So it's male to female, so I can't go left to right. Now I guess what I'm going to do now, put some fresh plugs in it, and then go out and ride it, try to get it to act up again, and then as soon as it gets here, tear it apart, test the coil resistance, and maybe it might sense, or maybe it might fail then. But I'm still kind of leaning towards the coils, just because they are, they're 40 years old and they do go bad over time. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to put this thing together, go ride it again. Kind of loopy. It's just freaking hot in here. So I took it for another ride, repeated the same situation, kind of fouled out that right plug. So what I've done now, I brought it back when it was hot. I checked all my resistances and stuff like that, and there's no like big red flags or anything like that. So I'm continuing on. I wanted to try one more thing while the bike is on the stand, and that's rechecking the synchronization of the carbs. Now I've synced these things before. I've had them dialed in, but since we had that kind of misbalance on the left to right cylinder, I wonder if that could have potentially thrown this off just a bit. So I've gone ahead, I've hooked it up. I have to set the camera down here. So alright, I got these things dialed in, so they're close. There's just one screw in between there. I'll make a separate video at some point on synchronizing carbs. Feels like it's slightly snappier, but I'm gonna go for a ride. So I think I'm getting close on the dialing in the GS450, and I know that because the gods have sent all these storms. Converging over my house, over the shop. So I gotta be getting close. Yeah, it's gonna try to stop me. Looking pretty ominous. Alright guys, so we've gone through the diagnostic process here, and after talking with the last person who worked on it, going through maybe his consensus as well as, you know, spitballing with him, doing some brainstorming, the conclusion is we're going to go ahead and just tear this thing down. Now, we're going to do a fresh top end on it with some new Dyna coils, which I have on order. And I know that even though we tested we did numerous compression checks and leak downs and whatnot, and we got this cylinder to basically be on a level playing field left to right, if it was leaking past the head gasket at all before, it could have hot spotted it, and even though it's sealing now, it might be something that could potentially develop a leak a little bit further down the road. And then in that instance, I also want to be sure that we get this thing apart and we check the head surface, we make sure everything's flat, and then while we're in there, we're going to go do a set of rings. Now, it may not need rings, the head may not be, you know, may not be warped, but they're all things, while we're in there, we're just going to go ahead and do and get it right, and we're not going to have to come back and do this again. So it's going to, you know, we're going to do it right or not at all. So anyway, we're going to tear the bike down. I'm going to work on that in probably a couple days, get it torn down, kind of put it to the side, and start compiling and working on the head, the jug, and whatnot. And then we'll come back, we'll get it together. And then at that point, once it's all back together and running great, I'm going to go ahead and we'll do like a nice payoff video, do some glamour shots and some cool, you know, some cool riding footage and sound clips and whatnot. We'll have some fun with the bike. So we'll see how it performs at that point. Anyway, thanks for sticking around this long. I know it's either probably a long video or if this is turns into a multi-part video. So thanks for sticking around, and tune back in whenever we start putting it back together.